the trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite. Forget it, man, and get with the countdown. Shake this square world and blast off for Kicksville.
Welcome to Hanging Loose, a disc golf podcast, hosted by Spicy Boy. Today's guest, it's me, the real RV3.
And we're here. You know who isn't here? The jailbird himself, ShankedDG.
Bad take jail for that man.
He's in bad take jail, but this is still the Hanging Loose Disc Golf Podcast brought to you by Great Lakes Disc. I am Spicy Boy DG, joined today by our very real and not see-through producer, RV3. How you doing, buddy?
The real RV3 in the building. Yes, Spicy, thank you for having me back on the podcast. I love co-hosting the podcast, specifically with you, because our energy levels I feel like are kind of chaotic together, and I really enjoy that. So thank you so much for having me back. And of course, happy to be your producer each and every week here on the Hanging Loose podcast.
Boy, I tell you, if my ego was stroked at the beginning of every podcast by that other guy, we'd probably be doing a lot better. But he's always asleep. He thinks AB doesn't have what it takes, despite having 3 wins on the 2024 tour already. He's moving to Oklahoma on purpose. He's just his choices are questionable these days.
Yeah, he's got a shirt out that's not selling too well either. But you could go over to disclab.io, and if you buy a shirt and a disc, I'll ship it to you for free. So make sure you go out and get the Shank shirts. Now, why am I telling you to go get the Shank shirts? Well, number one, obviously, support the guy, right? He does, he does deserve it a little bit. Number two, once we're done with those, we're going to hopefully, fingers crossed, if we ever sell them all, we will do a Spicy Boy shirt.
Which, who doesn't want a Spicy Boy shirt? I told my dad I might be getting my own merch in the near future, and he was like, for you, with your name on it? I was like, yeah, but at this rate, it's going to come out in 2030, so we're going to have to. I'm actually buying a Shanked shirt a little bit later this week, so I will be supporting my partner. I might even get a disc and have you send it to me for free, even though you probably will anyway. Otherwise, I'll find another producer.
See what I can do for you.
I tell you, the saddest part of the last 2 weeks of my life. Sorry, second saddest part. I invited someone to breakfast this morning, and they were like, "Yeah, absolutely." And then I sat there for 40 minutes while they failed to show up. So that was fun.
Way.
Yeah, just sat there alone at a breakfast place. Like, I'm just gonna go home now.
Did they at least hit you up afterwards and be like, "Hey, yo, I'm sorry."
They were like, "Sorry, I got drunk last night in my car and I left." All right, wow, that sounds shitty.
Yep.
I got drunk last night and left my phone in my car when I came in to go to bed.
It.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying. That sounded very shitty.
Yeah, all shanked levels. But the other saddest part is that I reached out to Cosmic Crisp Apples, sponsor of my co-host Shanked.
Yeah,
I finally found some in Arizona, and I bought a whole bag of them, and they left me on red. Cosmic Crisp, where's my sponsorship? I eat apples. I know I look like this, but I still eat apples. So you all better reach out.
And to that point, you've been on more of these podcasts than he has.
You sponsoring John Cena? Because I don't see Shanked anywhere. I don't think so. Yeah. What was your? Did you play around this weekend?
Okay, so I've mentioned this the last
time.
Love
the way that started.
Podcast. Yeah, it's bad. I could pull up the scores if you wanted me to, but oof. So we have a kind of amateur, not a kind of. It's an amateur disc golf tour.
Mm-hmm.
And so I set it up and schedule it, and you play 6 different events across the spring and summer. And each different event, you play 2 courses that are like within a half hour, 35 minutes of each other. You play one in the morning, one in the afternoon. This week, we played at Beacon Glades in Beacon, New York, home of Missy Gannon. Missy Gannon's from Beacon, New York. And then we drove about 35 minutes north to Gardner, New York, and played at the Gunks. It was a very rainy weekend here in the eastern New York, western Connecticut area. So it was very muddy. And both of those courses are very, like there's a lot of elevation change. It's a lot of up and down. So it was a muddy mess. And your boy finished in last at both places.
Guess the monkey's off my back.
Yeah. And you got dead last at a sanctioned turn. I got dead last unsanctioned. My own event, dead last. 2 of them, actually.
It's not me
I
anymore.
went the first round. I was 19 over par. 19? And the second round, I was 22 par.
Got it. I think I can't remember what my total
really
was.
well, but I missed every putt. So I was I threw the disc well, but my score was not indicative of how well I was throwing the disc. But
it'd be like that sometimes. I've definitely had rounds like that. That's pretty much how my round when I did finish dead last was I was hitting drives. The OBs were really tight at that tournament, so I would just like kind of leak out of bounds every other throw. But my round today was actually really good. I've started implementing a new mechanic for my putting because I commonly will spin putt, and I have a problem with the timing of the release, so it's either over there or whatever. So I've started trying to implement kind of like a push start to my spin putt, and I think that's been helping me. So I'm keeping it on a straight line down and up if I'm within the circle, and then just trying to push it forward. And it seems to be working. I made a lot of good putts today during my round, and I text you the screenshot of the scores, but we finished 13 under par for dubs today, which was pretty fun. And I absolutely... You son of... I texted it to your phone. What do you got to log into Twitter for?
No, you sent it on Twitter.
Did I?
Yep.
Oh. Well, we're professionals here, folks.
I'm logged into the Disc Lab. You're boned. I'm logged into the Discord one over here, so.
You son of a bitch. That's fine. But yeah, round was good. I had a couple decent ace runs, couple skippies.
If you resend it to me on Discord, I could pop it up. You want to try to do that while you're talking?
God, you're so needy. Hold on.
Yeah. So it was great, though. Thank you for Beacon Glades and Dunks hosting us this weekend.
You're cutting out in my ears. I can't hear what you're saying.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
The Discord on my phone's not logged in, so you get a text and you can figure it out from there.
Oh, brother.
Hey, you're the producer. That's what you signed up for. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah. No, I got it. I was just giving a thank you to our hosts for over the weekend because it was a ton of fun.
Your hosts? We'll say it again so I can hear it, or fix it in post.
I will.
I don't doubt that. Thank you, whoever you are. Any disc picks this week, my friend?
I certainly do have a disc pick. And boy, let me tell you, that there's a grand old story behind this disc pick here. This is, and it won't pick it up on camera very well because of the color, but this is a Discraft ESP Zone, and it is a like bright highlighter yellow, almost the yellow of a Smartie. You know how like they have the yellow Smarties?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of that kind of yellow. I've had this disc since I started playing disc golf.
Okay.
It was one of the first discs that I held in my hand, and I was like, "Ooh, I really like that." And I didn't like it a lot when I liked how it felt, but I didn't like how I threw it. So I had to learn how to throw it correctly. But since
Even
then,
zones.
it's been in every bag, every iteration of my bag. It's got a little bit of puddle to it. You can't really tell again because of the color, but it's just I've aced with it. It was my first ace was with this zone, so it's a little bit more than just like, oh, it's a nice disc. It's also very sentimental.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're getting sentimental on me. I didn't know we were gonna do that shit.
Yeah, this is my disc pick.
That is your disc pick. Well, if we're gonna go first ace discs.
Well, you didn't. I mean,
No, that's fine, bro.
you had
all the work.
a little peek behind the curtain here, folks. He had two of them that he showed me before. I don't know why he just didn't go with those.
I can go with those, but that doesn't. Why can't I send you 3 disc picks?
I don't.
Got to get
I
it
don't
from all the
see
angles.
that much disc, to be honest with you.
So, for my 3rd anniversary as a bar trivia host, my fans, I will call them, my friends who come and play every week, my regulars, people who know and appreciate what I do, bought me 2 discs. So this one is, how did you pronounce it? Because I don't know how it's pronounced.
It's a Yicken.
Gooey putter, which is interesting because it's got this, it's kind of hard to tell the textured part on the bottom, and then there's non-textured parts too. So I feel like putting with that would be a little weird for me, but I'm planning on using it as a throwing putter. So like almost like you would use a zone.
Yeah.
And
it's
they
I
also
used to
got
putt.
me.
I used to actually putt with those.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That explains a lot. And I was also gifted this Active Premium Discmania Majesty with a gold stamp, which I very much like. And it appears to be pretty stable. So straight flyer with lots of glide. That'll be good for my weak arm. And then my first ace disc, I have shadow boxed. It's my Paige Pierce first run 5-time stalker. So
did you retire it because it's your first one?
I retired my first 10.
Really?
And then I thought that's enough. I just wanted enough to have like a cool wall display. And so those are all my hole in one, my first 10 holes in one.
So you threw it that one time and then you never threw it again after that. Went straight into the box.
Not straight into the box. I threw it plenty after that. And then once I got to I think 8 aces, I was like, that would be cool if I retired the first 10 and I just had like I could make wall art out of it. And then I went and bought the shadow box. So my first one and my second one, I actually was wearing this exact shirt when I got my second ace. But the shadow boxes, they only had 2 of at Hobby Lobby. So I'm big on consistency. Like if I'm going to make a piece of artwork, I want all my art to have the same type of frame and the same matting and all that kind of stuff. But that's just because I'm OCD.
I have your roundup. You want to look at that real quick?
Yeah, we can look at it real quick. There we are. So we've got Sam Springer and JB. JB, my buddy, we'll probably have on the podcast here in the near future. He was a putting machine today. And it wasn't like, oh, all the putts are within 15 feet. It was like 15 feet, 30 feet, 60 feet, whatever. He just could not miss a putt. It was incredible. And it's a little discouraging because I know if he makes like 2 in a row that I'm pretty much fucked for that round. I'm not going to get a chance to come back. But my partner Timbo is usually pretty consistent. He was great today. A lot of good drives, and I was making some putts. He was making some putts. The first 2 holes I felt bad because we both had. Look at this clown. How are you texting me from? He's texting me from jail. Shanked is. So there's 15 people deep at this Chili's. Man, you can call it whatever you want. Prison's prison. Anyway, but Timbo was great today. He's a primarily forehand player. Ryan and Neil were great. Cannon putts all down the back 9. And then John and Taylor, it was a pretty close round, obviously. with dubs, that tends to happen. But we had some pretty rough luck with tree kicks today. The pars we did have were basically because both players hit a tree and it kicked left or kicked right. Oh, you've never played in Arizona. You've never been out here, right?
No, I've yet to make it past the Mississippi River for some reason. It's not on purpose or on accident. I just haven't gotten that far.
Well,
I've been there. I've been to the Mississippi River, just
not beyond it.
Yeah. So
I'll be in upstate New York next month.
I know. Told me.
We're gonna go Cooperstown. We're gonna play the Omagong Brewery 9-hole.
You can go see all the Yankees in Cooperstown, along with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and
why would they be in
Cooperstown?
Stanton
and Garrett Cole, of course, Hall of Famer.
Maybe in 30 years when they're actually in there.
Right. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. You'll see them there right now. They're already Hall of Famers. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know about that. Aaron Judge isn't quite having the season everyone hoped he would have. Speaking of seasons,
that takes nothing away from his Hall of Fame career.
I mean, I wouldn't put him in the Hall just yet. He's definitely had a good career. You know who I would put in the Hall of Fame?
Who's that?
Another New York staple from Scarsdale, Paul Heyman. If you want to talk about Hall of Fame caliber people at what they do,
yeah,
Paul
He's
Heyman
the best.
Is the best of the best, and there's no argument about it. We need to talk about WrestleMania because I know you watched it.
He plays the best. That guy.
Yeah,
and when you need that type of character, you say, you need to be more like Paul Heyman. That's who you go to as that's the guy.
Who do you want to be the two-timing, undermining, but also in your face, braggadocious?
Right, yeah.
He's just it. He's everything you could ever want in a wrestling personality as far as management goes. Did you watch his Hall of Fame speech?
I did not. I watched the highlights of it, so I kind of got the gist of it, obviously. Him being in full ECW getup was pretty epic.
It was great to see, and the way that he closed his speech was a big risk for him, I think, given WWE's current PG status. So that was there's a really funny video where you can see it's kind of shot from the top down, and you can see Paul giving the speech and Randy Orton sit behind him. And Paul ends it, and Randy Orton's like, "You can't say that." But it's fucking Paul Heyman. He does whatever he wants. When I worked at, American Express, the person next to me actually got one of Paul Heyman's cards on a call, and I was like, "Who are you talking to? Give me the phone right now. Transfer him to me. I will sit in after call." That was a pretty fun day.
That's cool.
Boy, your reactions to my stories today are top tier. It's almost like Shank's here, you know?
Yeah. So what'd you think of WrestleMania as a whole?
Just
high level, and then we'll break it down. Other things.
Yeah. As a whole, it's probably my favorite WrestleMania since I've really been a fan.
Okay.
I very much enjoyed every aspect of the build. Every match on the card felt thoroughly fleshed out and understandable, with the exception of maybe I know they really tried to kind of give it a little bit of time, but the LA Knight and AJ Styles match just kind of felt like we got to get these guys on the card, you know? But I love LA Knight. I'm a big LA Knight fan. I just think let me talk to you. There's a buddy I work with at my insurance office, and he and I go we'll just walk around the office. Don't say anything to each other, but one of us will go, yeah, and then the other one will. It's like call and response. But I really enjoyed it. I felt there were a couple of the entrances. I know people tend to go big for entrances at WrestleMania, but they felt very random is the wrong word. It just felt like they started planning really huge for it, and then they kind of got to a certain point in the planning process, and they're like, that'll be enough. That's fine.
Yeah,
So
I know that some of the set design and costumes and stuff didn't like make it to Philly in time.
Drew
So I don't
McIntyre's
know.
ring gear.
Yeah, I don't know how much that had to do with it, but they did seem. I mean, honestly, the best one was the first one with Rhea Ripley. That was the best intro walkout of the whole 2 nights. The first one off the bat.
I really don't like Motionless in White. So
I don't know anything about the band. But
like it was cool that she came out.
As far as entrances go, that's the coolest entrance. I don't know who the band is. That doesn't matter to me. I know who Rhea Ripley is, and I'm watching WrestleMania. I'm not gonna go look up the band.
Right. I've seen Motionless in White a couple times as openers for other bands that I've gone to see. And they just feel like whiny children to me, if I'm being honest. It's
Okay.
not like I love metal. I listen to, and it's very rare for me to find a band that I don't enjoy in some way, shape, or form. But when I saw Motionless in White, it was like 2017, and they just sounded like whiny little kids, and I was like, I can't stand these guys. So I've held that against them for forever. Full disclosure, could probably listen to them now and find a few things that I enjoy, but they're just in my brain as children, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, there's sometimes there's bands you just don't like. It's fine.
Yeah, they have like the entrances that I'm talking about is like I liked Seth Rollins' entrance both nights. I liked The Rock's entrance on night 1. That was incredible.
That was also, I forgot about that. The Rock logo on fire was sick. Oh my God.
It just, everything about it was cool as shit. He came out, they had the whole build and everything, but
the music being slightly different, I also appreciated.
Just things like Bailey's entrance. Like Bailey came out on a litter. It was very Egyptian themed. And then once she got like 10 feet down the runway, they put her down and her normal music played. And it's like, okay. I love Bailey. And it felt very like.
I was kind of bummed when I found out that Drew McIntyre didn't intentionally come to the ring dressed that way, because I felt it sent like a different message. Like it was sent to more like non-distracted.
Yeah, like I'm here to wrestle. Y'all can show off if you want, but I'm here to whip.
And when I found out they had like a whole like thing for him, I was like, oh, it's kind of a bummer.
Especially because it was his big win in front of like the audience, and
except for that he didn't. It's funny.
He did.
He won, and then he lost, which was great.
Well, of course. Well, that's what happens when you're a senior Money in the Bank, And I don't even like Damian Priest, but I thought that whole segment was very well scripted and played out. And I love arguing. I've been arguing with people because obviously I've been vocal about WrestleMania the last week or so, and people that I work with are like, they're it's fake people, and you're like, dude, I like put on Grey's Anatomy and tell me how real that is. Like I hate it's just a purposeful lack of understanding when people bitch about wrestling in that way, and I'm just like, whatever, dude. If you understood, you would get it, but you don't, and you refuse to. So I'm not going to waste any energy on you.
Was The Undertaker supposed to be Stone Cold?
I much preferred Taker in that role. I don't know if he was supposed to be Stone Cold. I have read a couple theories where they were like, this is what it was supposed to be. And obviously, yes, Stone Cold is a much bigger foil for The Rock. But
Undertaker is still there. Like there was a feud there also.
Of course.
Like, but people often like to like not really think about how big that was.
And I think, at least in my mind, if you're going to have someone interact with the main event, like it's the match for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
It makes so much more sense to have somebody who can kind of cryptically come in and out and affect the match. Because if Stone Cold comes out, everyone's going to be worried about him. And then the moment he gets taken out, everyone's going to be like, what a waste of a use and blah, 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 and all this other shit. And having Taker just show up, you hear the gong, the lights are out, choke slam, gone. That's all they needed. It fit the story perfect. I wouldn't have done it any other way. I will say what made me laugh way too hard was Seth Rollins coming out to the Shield music, and everyone's and he immediately gets dropped. Roman just punches him in the face, and that's it. And you're like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah. I don't know how hurt Seth Rollins actually is or was, but God, he played it perfectly. Like, he played hurt guy that's like just keeps coming.
He's getting some time off, which he's more than earned.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening with MJF and AEW, but my understanding is his contract is currently expired. He's waiting for his no compete to come and go, and then he's gonna show up in WWE. And personally, I think what I would love to see happen is when Punk gets better and then he feuds with Drew McIntyre, obviously, because that's what they're building to. I want him to be on the precipice of showing Drew McIntyre why he's the best in the world, and then have MJF just show up out of nowhere and be like, what's the line? The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world he doesn't exist. Like,
that would be nuts.
And just have MJF and Punk on like the biggest stage. They're fucking, oh my god, the stories they could tell. Welcome to the wrestling podcast.
Last tangent. Who does Cody face seriously first? Because we know the first one, he's not going to lose it right after he won it. That's dumb. So the first one's bullshit. Who's he actually going to have a real battle with first?
It's tough. Because obviously they've already teased Rock and Cody.
Yeah. But that's not happening until...
Right.
Next WrestleMania at the earliest, and I don't think it's going to happen then either.
Yeah, I would love to know what you think The Rock handed Cody the next night on Raw. Did you see that promo?
I did see the promo. I have no... my wrestling knowledge does not go that deep.
I think that because he handed him something and he said, never break my heart again. And I think that it's either Dusty Rhodes Hall of Fame ring, because The Rock's in charge. He can get his hands on that if he wants, as a officer of the board of the company. Yeah. Or he handed him like the $7 because The Rock's always talking about having $7 in his pocket when he started, and I think he was trying to be like symbolic, but who knows? As far as Cody's first feud, it's hard because I really want it to be somebody that I know can go. I don't want to see them have like, the match where he has to carry an older wrestler or whatever. I want it to be somebody. Who do you think it would be?
I think the first one is going to be LA Knight.
You think so?
I think the first one's going to be LA Knight. Because I think that he needs a little bit more time.
You think LA Knight needs more time?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. He needs a what's it? The one with Damian Priest, I think.
Judgment
I think
Day?
yeah, I think that's more like kind of the angle they would go there. Because I don't think he'll go after I see that more in that role.
I could see that. Like I said, I really am not like a big Damian Priest guy.
Yep.
I really enjoyed his promo when he came out as champ for the first time on Raw. And he held the title up, and then Rhea held the title up, and then R-Truth got the middle of
I've been waiting for that for so long. I was a huge fan of them 15 years ago. I'm a huge fan of them now. It's so good.
Oh God, R-Truth is such a gift to humanity.
So good.
LA Knight's a good one. It's just I think they've done such a almost too good of a job keeping Cody and Roman and everybody up above everyone else as far as, you know, kind of like.
Oh, yeah. Also having Ricochet and Bobby Lashley, you know they're not winning that match. You know, what's his name? Big dude.
Big dude, Brock Lesnar?
No. He was in the Fatal 4-Way as well with Ricochet.
He was in what with Ricochet? I'm sorry, you cut out.
The Fatal 4-Way with Ricochet. He was in that match as well. On Raw on Monday. Bronson.
Yes, Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know he's not going to win that match.
Right. They're just not, and this is not a knock to them at all, but just where they are in their current run in their careers, they're not championship material, I wouldn't say. Not big title material. I could see Bronson Reed, like, I don't want to say squashing Sami Zayn, but obviously there's a big size difference. I could see him running with the IC title for a little bit, but not like the big dogs. On SmackDown, when Heyman came out with Solo and Jimmy Uso, and Solo, it looks like Solo's going to take over the bloodline while Roman's gone. I don't like his promo work, but I like Solo in the ring. I think he's fun to watch, and it's been nice to see the Samoan Spike back and things like that. Plus, they just debuted the newer guy in that same segment, and I can't think of his name because I'm terrible. But it's been things my friends post in Discord. It's been such a phenomenal time to be a wrestling fan.
I agree.
The
last WrestleMania I watched was 30, where it was Shawn Michaels and Taker, and Shawn Michaels lost and he had to retire.
That wasn't 30.
The 25?
I want to say 27. Shawn
Maybe
Michaels.
27. It's 2000.
It's 26. It was in Phoenix.
26. That was the last one I watched.
WrestleMania 26. Shawn Michaels was just too cross-eyed.
Back then, that was still only one night. This was better.
I agree.
So it's the best WrestleMania I've ever seen.
I like the two nights. I really do. Because I think the pressure that they're under to perform, to get every match, every storyline featured on the card, which is truly what WrestleMania should be. Right. It's the showcase of everything that's happening in the company. It's your flagship show. trying to get that on one night is just nigh impossible. So switching to 2 nights, it's 6 hours of wrestling, but if you're a wrestling fan, you're really not complaining about it.
No, I intended to have it on in the background and then ended up watching the whole thing.
Yeah, it was, so I was at Jillian's house and I was house sitting for her. And then I went and picked her up from the airport right before night 2 started. And so we get home from the airport and I'm like, is it okay if I stay over and watch? She's like, yeah, totally. So night 2 starts and it gets to the end and I'm just, on the edge of my seat, like, oh, like Roman's doing the crossroads and all this other stuff. And she's like, so they know who wins ahead of time, right? I'm like, yeah. She's like, so what's the incentive to do a good job? I was like, pride in your work and the ability to move up and be one of the top stars. And she's like, well, how do they know who's actually good if they pick who wins? It's like, oh, you don't understand. And it was an hour or so of me trying to explain it to her while WrestleMania was happening, and then me giving up and just trying to enjoy the last hour and a half for myself.
Well, it sounds like you got to enjoy majority of it.
Yes. Oh, yeah. It was a great time. And I didn't not enjoy the times I was explaining to her. It's just, when you can throw your full energy into enjoyment, it's always a blast. Speaking of throwing your energy into things, let's talk about AB, man.
Yeah,
just took down Jonesboro a couple hours ago.
So I live tweeted the whole thing. I don't know if you saw that or not, but nobody interacted with any of my tweets, so I don't think anybody saw it. But I live tweeted the whole final round. What a roller coaster! I turned that thing on expecting to see 4 top players at a difficult-ish course. 4 different manufacturers. It had all these cool, like, legendary-ish, kind of like modern legends of disc golf, right?
Mm-hmm.
And was expecting them to tear it up. And what we got was very entertaining. And I enjoyed a lot. But like so many missed putts, so many spit outs, so many shots out of bounds, just because the wind was ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so fun, the ego stroke that you get. And this was one of the tweets. As an amateur, watching pros struggle that much feels so good.
It's similar to the feeling like when I'm playing against my buddy JB and he misses a putt and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, I've got a chance. Or, like, good, he's not going to make every single one today. And I'm not rooting against him by any means, but it's just nice to not be alone in my suckage. So I feel you.
Yeah, I had such a good time watching the whole thing. And he's learned how to win very quickly.
That's a good way to put it. That's a very good way to win
very quickly, and he's doing it the showmanship part of it without actually doing the showmanship part of it. Like Simon today, he had a bad shot or two, and he just unintentionally kind of like skied one, and it came down, and it was like 40 feet in front of him because of how high he threw it. And he like kind of looked back and snickered, and the DGN guys made a joke about it. And I was like, yeah, that's cool and everything, but then you see AB on the tee. I think it was either 13 or 14, where there's kind of a gully and you throw over it. And he just absolutely crushed it. So he's like putting on a show without, having to He's just playing the way he plays.
I agree. I think I was watching. I caught a little bit of it very briefly earlier today before I went out for my round, and Calvin Heimberg, I think, was throwing the same hole, and he just obliterated his drive. It was like 250 feet past the cameraman, and everybody's like, "What the hell?" And I think. I actually don't think it was live. I think it was Jomez from round 2. And I think Big Germ was like, somebody put a marker there. Like, that's never going to happen again. And it's like, I love watching coverage, especially post-produced coverage, not to knock DGN at all, but like occasionally with DGN, and they're getting better about it, of course, but like someone will throw this monumental shot and I'm looking at compression squares. Just because they're in the middle of the woods trying to have a live feed. And while I appreciate that effort, like until it's at a point where I can see what's happening, then I still have a DGN membership and I will still watch post-produced coverage on top of that, just because there's different angles and slow-mos, and you can really break down form a little bit better and learn from those things. And it's like, I'm never a better disc golfer than right after I filmed a tournament.
There's a little bit of that like it rubs off on you for sure, because I definitely play better after Maple Hill every year.
Mm-hmm. It's, you just see what they're doing, and if your body understands repetition and physiology, you can apply that to your game. Like,
it's just stupid that it doesn't carry over the rest of the year, because it fades at some point and it's gone right now, brother. I'll tell you that much.
Tell me something, brother.
It ain't over here.
It's definitely a mimicry thing for me. I'm very good at that. Like, I remember when I was learning how to golf, I learned how to golf right-handed, even though I'm left-handed. And it's, my brain just understands how to do what you're doing. If you explain it to me, I'm not going to know shit. But if I just watch you do it a few times, I'll usually be pretty good at it. And that's I think that's why I'm a good pool player, is because I love geometry, and also I'm good at mimicking. Oh, you need lower right hand English if you're going to pop this ball and leave yourself position on the next one. Then I'm like, okay, I can do that, and it just happens. But I think Disc Side of Heaven is probably my second most desirable course that I want to play at. It just looks like so much fun.
Yeah, I have the pleasure of being close enough to Maple Hill to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a 2-hour drive. So I've gotten to tick that box of playing Maple Hill, because I feel like that's kind of everybody's kind of, legendary. That's the one they want. Most people.
It's a dreamer, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so, having checked that box, I would say Jones, this Side of Heaven, I was up there. But yeah, it's a good one. I like the redesign. I think the ending holes coming down, the new way they organize it with I think it's old hole 5 is 18 now.
Mm-hmm.
It played really well all 3 days, I think.
It's always nice. I'm like, rebranding for me in general is such an enjoyable process. I love when a company, a tournament, a manufacturer, whoever, even personalities, when they rebrand themselves. Like, I'm not the biggest Kat Allen fan, but her logo redesign and everything that she did a couple years back is absolutely astonishing. It's amazing. It looks phenomenal. Couldn't be happier for her. Even like shit, like I think maybe 7-ish years ago, Aquafina rebranded and they updated their logo and what everything. And I was,
is that when they added the little mountain and the sun into the logo? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and they got rid of the stupid like Times New Roman-esque font, and they just went with a nice smooth font. And I was literally walking through QT, and I was like, "Oh, good on you, Aquafina. It looks way better." Like,
You're muted. You're muted.
am I muted now?
Oh.
Good. I hit the wrong cable and my system fucked up. But yes, I'm all over a solid rebrand, and I think the best way you can rebrand a disc golf course is to switch the holes up a little bit. And I think they absolutely nailed it for these events. So much fun to watch. It's something different, so you're not, people shit on the Memorial all the time because it's a Heiser fest. It's the same holes, it's the same shots on repeat. And while that is true to a certain extent, like, there's really not much you can do to combat it on those two particular courses. Where when you have places like This Side of Heaven or the Toboggan or the Preserve, Maple Hill, even, they just added the Triple Mando that we all want to make out under.
Well, they hole 7 or I'm sorry, hole 9 last year was brand new.
Mm-hmm. It's taking something that we know and love, switching it up just a smidge, but the smidge is big enough to really make a considerable difference. Like, who knows, next year they could take a couple of the holes that AB really kicked ass on and switch those up, and now he's got to fight for his life again, and it's not necessarily going to be an easy repeat, or it's just, there's so much you can do. And I think finding the line between let's do enough to really update things and let's keep it traditional and what people love that's a tough spot. It's a tough spot.
They seem to balance it really well. And like you said, with the stuff moving around, apparently, if I understand it correctly as well, the tournament central area for them was better suited to have that be hole 18 than it was to have it be hole 5 for whatever reason. So even to that point of it, where it makes a better experience for people who are at the tournament and the people who are interacting with the tournament, all the players, the staff, all the people watching, security. If you see all that boost the play on the course because of how it breaks down at the last 4 or 5 holes, it's a win-win there. So
I 100% agree with you. I wonder, I think about things like, if I'm going to change them, I would go all the way to the extreme. So if I was given charge of the Memorial, I would just basically run Fountain Hills backward. And I think that you could have so much, it's like it would make it essentially a professional safari tournament, because you start and end at the same place, essentially. And it's completely turns the course on its ass. And it would be a whole different, like, they would have to come out and practice. I think logistically, practice would be the reason they can't, because you're going to have pros practicing backward, and everyone out there for rec play is going to be going forward, and it'd just be an absolute nightmare. People would probably get hurt, but it's just, I would love to see a course do that, where it's like theme the whole event as being topsy-turvy. Like, don't call it D-Glow, call it Olge. You know what I You know what I mean? Just like,
no, I don't.
Yeah,
Call
instead
it
of DG,
what?
Olge, OLDG instead of D-Glow. It's backward.
All right,
Just
dude.
something dumb like that. Just turn a whole tournament around and have it be a party environment, not like we party, but
I had a hot take on, and I'm not positive if it's a hot take or not, so maybe you could help me out. I put out on Twitter today that seeing professional disc golfers in the polos really turns up like how good it looks on video. And I think that there was a big fuss about it a couple years ago when they added it to the rule book, but I'm very happy that they did because it looks great.
So you think it's a hot take that people look more professional in a collared shirt?
No, I think it's a hot take that it looks better for disc golf with professionals wearing collared shirts than a bunch of crazy people walking around with t-shirts and shorts on.
So you're not a Chandler Kramer fan? Is that what I'm hearing?
No. I actually do like Chandler Kramer quite a bit. His game style is great. I think his the kind of style and swagger he plays with is really cool. I happen to like him quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But just so happens he wears the t-shirt most times.
Okay. So my buddy and I, my buddy's a big motorsports fan, and I was at his house yesterday, and we were watching the world's first professional jet suit race.
Okay.
World's first.
Yeah.
They had fucking sponsored buoys in the water, and like they had a whole their version of Tournament Central. They had this whole event space set up, and I'm like, this. To be fair, it was being held in the UAE in Dubai.
Oh yeah.
So of course there's buku bucks there, but it's so flabbergasting how much of a difference that kind of stuff makes. And when you watch a disc golf tournament, there's you got the flags and you got the course signs and everything, but I fully agree with you that if you're a professional, there should be a higher standard as to how you present yourself. This is one of the things that Shanked and I talked about early on the show was professionalism and don't have earbuds in if you're a professional. You shouldn't be out there. I love Ricky to death, but I don't need your golden diamond chain on you while you're throwing drives, dude. Not that I mind.
One that always gets me is the rangefinder. I wish they would do something about that. I always think that looks dumb, and I get the importance of it, but and I think it's Calvin on one of the Tour Life. Calvin was on. They talked about how if you kind of do your homework, then you don't really need it. And once he said that, I was like, oh, hell yeah, you don't need it, So that's one of the things I would still like to see. That looks kind of silly.
I fully agree with you. Tiger Woods doesn't take out a rangefinder and be like, oh, it's 80 to the front of the pin. You do your homework. You study the course. You understand where you're landing. You have, and some of these pros, they play 4, 5, 6 practice rounds before they go out and they compete in these tournaments. And if you want to range your shots, do it during practice and remember.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be a professional, put in the effort. One of my favorite movies of all time is Cool Runnings. Have you seen Cool Runnings?
Of course.
It's a classic. But you know what? Those 4 Jamaican guys that they haven't learning how to bobsled, they're not just getting in a sled and going because they were told how to do it or they learned how to do it. They're in there studying their turns. They're in the bathtub, practicing their timing. You have to put in that kind of effort. And listen, I'm not a professional golfer. This is an amateur podcast. But if you're going to if you're going to put in 200 hours to fabricate a van out to live in, but you can't take the time to range your shots during your practice rounds, how committed are you to being a top level professional? Are you just doing it so you can get by and get a sponsorship, or are you playing because you want to win? And I think it's detectable. You can see Paul McBeth isn't up putting at 3 a.m. because he wants to finish second.
I agree with you to a point. I think, yes, obviously, absolutely. Please be, invested in it enough to practice and be able to throw your shots, right? For me, it's more about if I go to a course and I understand my level and intelligence of disc golf is very small in comparison to a professional, obviously, right? But I don't need, if I played a course like 2 or 3 times, I could pack a bag and know I've got all the shots I need and just like kind of thinking about it at my house. Now, I don't have as much stuff going on, obviously, when I'm going out to play. I don't have to, but
right.
I don't like, you played there, you know where everything is. I understand if you're able to put a disc on 192 feet and put it on a dime, then I'll give it to you. But you can't. So I'm sorry.
Right.
Like,
no, it's fine. And like, rangefinders help me as a cameraman because a lot of times when I'm lining up my visual shot while they're lining up their actual shot. I'll be behind the camera and they'll range it and I'll go, "What'd you have?" And they'll be like 392. And then I can just hit record real quick and do a quick audio note and say 392 from the pin, Ricky Wysocki. And then when Terry's editing, if you guys were ever curious how he gets those distances from the players, that's how it happens. Is they range it right in front of me. I ask them what it is, and then I leave him a little note. But same thing goes for like OB shots or like Miss Mandos, etc. Is we just click the record button, quick audio note for Terry for editing, and then he'll, makes his job a lot easier and put this. If you wonder, like I said, if you wonder how he gets the rounds out like the same night that they finish, we do a lot of in-camera editing when we can. So
what Spicy is saying is he's not just a pretty boy with a big arm. He has to talk to him. Okay.
I'm none of those things. I look like the default Twitter.
You carry a camera around.
Yeah.
So you have a big arm.
Carry it with both arms. But yeah, it's just, it's those things are helpful for us as media personnel. But in the same vein of your thinking is like, if you're a professional, you shouldn't need to range every shot on every course. You should know your arm. You should know your body. You should know your limitations. You should know the wind. It's the same. Like, you can't use rangefinders on a PGA course. During a PGA tournament, you can't use a rangefinder. That's super against the rules. In fact, in ball golf, and I think I've mentioned this before, you're not even allowed to ask your opponent what club they're using. That's a stroke penalty in PGA rules. So it's silly to me that, like, if you watch like the Masters, they say, "Oh, he's hitting a 3-wood or a 6-iron or whatever," but they're not going to say the make, the shaft type, the club head speed, But when we watch golf, it's an ESP flex zone, and
right.
Here are its numbers and all that stuff. And it's like, I get you guys want to sell discs, but also at the same time, like, I think I don't want to say privacy, but like it kind of sets false expectations, because you and I are not going to be able to go out there and throw an EXP flex zone 450 feet like AB does.
Speak for yourself.
Hey, have fun.
I'm kidding.
Take me 2 shots to hit 450. Let me tell you.
Yeah, no, same boat. The only reason the only thing I would push back on as far as having the disc like manufacturer title, whatever name, I like seeing that because I can kind of know what to expect, and if they throw it wrong, or if they throw it a different way, then I know. Like, based on
in a different way, how?
Right. Yeah.
No, I'm asking you. Like, when you say they throw it in a different way, like, can you give me an example?
Like Heiser versus Anheuser, or like throwing it on the forehand versus a backhand or something. They might, because I don't ever forehand my Raptor, but I see people do it all the time.
Yeah, there's my buddy Ryan,
which is cool to like. It's cool to watch people do different things with different discs. Is what I'm saying.
I agree. I'm actually
taking that away. You kind of like miss that, so that's why I like that they have that.
I could. It's such a slippery slope though, because then it's in my mind it's just like, here's the exact thing that I'm doing, and while that's good for younger players to learn, I would almost caution them to like. Not that I want people to have to pay to learn how to play the game of disc golf, but like I think those kinds of things, that would be something that you would go over in like a clinic, or like, you know, whenever Drew Gibson throws his clinics, he's like, this is what this disc is. Here's why I throw it this way. Here's how it's going to react, versus I'm just watching a tournament, you know, and like, I'm not worried about what kind of golf balls Phil Mickelson's using, or I'm just watching golf. And I think what he does is magic anyway. So I'm not, it's, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm not worried about what brand of boxing glove Jake Paul's using or that kind of stuff. I don't worry about the cleats that Fernando Tatis has on, except last week he had on Tony Gwynn cleats and they were fucking sick. Thank you, Fernando Tatis, for paying respect to the greatest hitter of the 90s. But hey, I'm a San Diego boy. Tony Gwynn is like my absolute hero. He's the reason everything in my life is number 19. You know,
cool.
I know he got stomped on in the 98 World Series by the Yankees. You can gloat and have your moment. I don't mind.
I didn't say anything. I don't need to say anything.
It's
hat
just
speaks for itself.
Yeah.
They're so good.
They're
so good.
I just feel like if you want that stuff, I can't remember who did it. I want to say Innova does it on their website, but basically you can click their roster, click a professional, and it will have that professional's bag information there.
Yes.
That I'm fine with, but like displaying it and talking about it during the round makes it harder for me to enjoy it, because then it feels like shilling to a certain extent in the middle. It's like a commercial without it being a commercial.
I get what you're saying. They've made a big effort on not doing that on TGN, where they're not. They might still put up the like little blurb thing that tells you what disc it is, but they haven't specifically been naming discs as much as they used to.
Mm-hmm.
I think because they had some issue or somebody like complained, so they stopped saying all the names because they were getting some of them wrong anyway. So they just say fairway driver, distance driver.
What might be a fun idea, I think, instead of like this is going to sound shitty, but please just understand this is an example and I'm not singling this person out for this reason. But like whenever Joel Freeman has like a pre-round, you know, they do like the player profile, that kind of, he's just talking about his faith and things like that. More power to you, man. I'm all for it. But instead of that, I think it would be fun if it's a lead card, they film like a 30-second in the bag type video. Like it's just something quick. Yeah, I usually throw cicadas. I like this plastic, or, you know, this is my putter that I use, blah, 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 things like that. Do that before the tournament starts. And then you always have, you know, you can just throw that blurb in there. And then we know what discs they're using and they don't have to display it. They don't have to talk about it. Just give like a little like, what disc are you going to lean on heavily today with this wind? Or, you know what I mean? Something a little bit lighter, not quite as intensive. Like in the bag videos, some of them take like fucking 30 minutes for no reason. Like, well, I use this nuke for this and I use that nuke for that. And it's like, I like a nuke because it fights the wind. That's all you really got to say. You know what I mean? And then let the player go purchase that disc if they want and work on figuring it out, as opposed to like, tell me what to do, Ezra. I don't know. I get more joy in figuring it out that way.
That makes sense. there's like a sense of like accomplishment when you pick something up and you kind of learn how to throw it for yourself. You know what I mean?
Right.
I get what you're saying there. You know, kind of at the end of the day too, you got to follow the money a little bit. You know, disc golf's still pretty small, still got to find a way to support itself. So if, you know, kind of droning on for 30 minutes about what discs you have in your bag and what you're going to lean on more in different situations and kind of explaining that stuff, you know, if you have, and it's still like this a little bit with Simon, where if Simon's throwing it, then people want it, and if he's not, then they don't. And I feel like those in the bag videos kind of are geared more towards, you know, that kind of audience. Obviously, that audience being, I feel like the part of the disc golf population that spends the most money on discs and doesn't actually throw that many.
I would agree. Lord knows I have more discs than I could ever throw, and I only have about 60 of them.
Yeah, I have a small tub, like I have 40, and that's it.
Yeah, it's not. I threw actually my Simon Lizotte. They had the D-Glow Champion Wave, and I threw it today for like maybe the third or fourth time, and very nearly aced with it. And I was like, oh well, I guess I'm gonna start throwing that more often. And I think me performing a decent throw with a disc is a much higher motivator than like someone who I know can throw a mile and I can't, telling you this is a good one if you like flippy shots. Well, flippy for you is not flippy for me. Like, I remember when Simon switched to MVP and he was like, yeah, the Wave is my roller disc. I was like, I wish I could turn that motherfucker. Like, what are you talking about, roller disc, dude? Yeah. But there's so many different avenues to attack marketing from. Obviously, our marketing person's in prison right now, so he's not here to chime in, but maybe you have some better takes and then you won't have to worry about it. Yeah, AB doesn't
sucks
have
to
it.
Suck.
It does suck to suck.
One
and
of my
I would
tweets
know
today, and you'll probably agree with this, even though you're a hater. Anthony Barella is the Aaron Judge of disc golf. Period. Stop.
I think I have a biased opinion because I interact with AB pretty regularly on like an in real life basis.
That's
when he's
true.
around.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't
so
have that luxury.
And it's not necessarily a luxury, but I would imagine most of the fucking time I roll up on him, he's like, "Fuck this guy again."
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah,
that's probably closer to the truth than I was thinking.
Yeah, and so it's. I think he has, once you get to know him, and I obviously don't hang around Aaron Judge ever, never even met him. But like once you hang around AB and his personality starts to come out, because he's pretty closed off when we see him on coverage and things like that. He's very stoic. He's not very expressive. But once you know him, he's really fun. He's really funny. He likes to have a good time. He's just very dry with his delivery and his humor. And Aaron Judge, you're going to disagree because you're not a hater, just seems like an asshole. It's like, and one of the main things I'll point to that supports that kind of theory is him playing New York when they were leaving the visiting locker room against the Red Sox in the playoffs back in 2018. And like, fuck off, dude. Like, are you for real?
Come on.
Yeah, and then they lost the next game and the series, and it's like, that's what you fucking get. Don't be a piece of shit.
But
dude.
they were doing the Apple Watch thing too. I don't know.
It's just kind of like,
I don't get that vibe. I also listen to those kind of
talk radio with him on it.
Yeah, I obviously hear a bunch of his press conferences all the time. So kind of comparing the two. Obviously, I follow disc golf, so I know AB. When they do press conferences, it's like kind of the same, like direct, like answer, dry kind of,
yeah,
And then is always hype with his teammates. And you see that too, because, when he won at chess.com, it was, Adam Hammis was there and Ezra was there. There's a whole bunch of the Discraft guys there, Paul Ulibarri, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
and
I just kind of see a lot of those similarities. And the star power. I think the star power is there with AB. I think, he's certainly on the way to kind of being that. Not that disc golf doesn't really have a face, but I think for this generation, I think you'll kind of see a shift where it's very Anthony Barella focused.
And I hope so. I hope he keeps succeeding and kicking ass. I mean, he's to have no wins in the first however many years of your MPO career and then come out and bag 3. By the way, just a reminder, if you're looking for the person who filmed his first ever win with Discraft, that's me.
Oh, snap.
I also conducted his first ever interview as a winner with Team Discraft, me, in case y'all forgot, when he took down Maricopa Open last year. And I was super nervous. I fist bumped him about 1,000 times in a 30-second interview. And he's just learning how to win. What you said earlier is like such a great way to put it, because winning isn't just being better at disc golf. Winning is having that cadence and that confidence when you do your post-round interview, and knowing who to thank and how to say it and things like that. And having filmed several post-round interviews myself, you can see the people who are super nervous. Like, you just played 4 phenomenal rounds of golf, and now you're uncomfortable because Terry's asking you, like, what you're going to do with that ring, Parker. And he's like, hey, I'll probably, and it's not a knock on them. It's just, unless you do it all the time, you're not used to it. And I think AB is starting to get used to it. And
on and off the course, he's becoming more and more comfortable with. Yeah,
he's growing up.
Yeah, 100%.
He's growing up, and
you kind of even saw Calvin slip on 18 today, where he threw the shot out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
You saw Ben Calloway do the same thing right before them. Threw the shot out of bounds. So there's also something to be said about momentum, and I think we all kind of feel that, where regardless of your skill level, if you go 2 or 3 rounds where you're shooting better than you usually do, it tends to feel pretty good, and you tend to kind of ride that wave a little bit. You might play a little more, and you might play a little and consistently play a little bit better, and hopefully kind of learn from that and take it with you, and kind of grow on that. But when you're able to get in tune with it and win at that level, because we talk about it every time I'm on the podcast, at least, the hardest thing in disc golf to do is win on the Pro Tour. Talent is ridiculous, and the dude's beaten the best talent that disc golf's ever seen 3 times out of 5 tries. Ridiculous.
I just, like you said, the talent level is obscene, and it's a very exciting time in golf, because you have Kevin Kiefer, and that's, again, no disrespect to him. He's just not been a big name. He's not been out, he's been injured. This is first season, few tournaments back. To see him on a lead card is like awesome. And to know that anybody at any time could just pop off and throw the round of their life. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to be a disc golf fan right now. I was going to say this earlier during story time, and I totally forgot, but unconfirmed at this point, might be headed up to the fort in June to film an A tier. So if that happens, that'll be really exciting. I'll probably, if they have any fort specific memorabilia, probably buy a couple things to do a giveaway with if I go up there. But there's a few big names that are registered for that tournament, so that'll be fun to watch. We'll see if that ends up materializing. It would be my first travel disc golf media gig, so that would be very exciting.
Very good.
Yeah, man. I did not bring a giveaway today, even though I have some stowed over there. This was a.
Should we give away a Shanked t-shirt?
Ooh, that's actually a great idea. And since you sleep on them, they will. I'm sure you could
On them.
make that happen.
Not really though. Not on them.
He does.
They're in the same dwelling.
His bed is made from boxes of Shanked t-shirts, and don't let him tell you otherwise.
That's not entirely accurate, but I'll let the people believe what they want.
Well, one of us has the voice of the voiceless, and the other one has a fucking Yankees hat on. So y'all believe who you want.
Because they're the best. That's why.
Okay. So what do we want to do for the Shank shirt?
Let's do this. Let's we got a minimum of 50 likes on YouTube. 50 likes on YouTube. And in the comments, you just put
Go Sox.
in
Good
jail.
choice.
What?
Go Sox.
No. Shanked in jail. Or something about Shanked being in jail in the comments.
Tell us what Shanked's go-to jailhouse lunch is. That's what I want to know.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That could be a good one. All right. Shanked jailhouse lunch. And
50 YouTube likes.
50 likes on YouTube. And Shank's lunch in jail.
Also, we have to pick a winner from 2 weeks ago for... Did we hit 200 views?
I don't think we did. Shanked has been diligently watching it. The last I checked, we were like 50-ish away, I believe.
Okay. We're rounding the
so
corner.
We're getting there. We're getting there. We're going to ship out a whole backpack full of discs.
And goodies, hats, and chalk bags and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Also, if you've won a giveaway on this podcast in the past and have not received your item from me, please DM me. I'm trying to get caught back up, make sure I have everything sent out to everybody, so I apologize.
We're supposed to give them to me. All of them are my giveaways. Actually, I want them all.
Yeah. I'll send you a hat, that's for sure, so you can take that one off.
I might just wear this every week from now on.
Oh, well, guess who's up? Okay. Guess who's never going to be on the podcast again? Relegated to a producer role.
Well, Spicy, thank you so much for having me on the podcast again. Can't wait to be back on the next time when Shank. Nope. Let's try that again. Thanks for having me on the podcast. Thanks, Shanked, of course, for letting me fill in. And you guys do a great job every week. And I know that I say this every time I'm on here. Might as well be the third host, but I'm not. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Don't forget, you can use the promo code Hanging Loose.
10% off your orders at
Disc. 10% off. Thank you for listening to Hanging Loose, a disc golf podcast.
Perfect.